Hi guys, it's Sunday and almost getting ready for another week. I know how much all of you guys love starting a Monday and having to start a whole nother week, but I just want to start my week great. A lot of us end up putting goals and things that we want to do at the beginning of the year. We wait until January to do so. And I've learned that we can do just as many great things this time of year as we can do at the beginning of the year. So I have been through a lot of things in my life, and I've talked about it over and over and over again on all of my posts. I've had a pretty traumatic life, and you'll hear me talk about it again and again and again. And because of that traumatic life that I started out with just as a little kid of 3, it really changed the way I thought about myself. It really kind of warped the way I felt about myself and how I saw others and how I the route that I chose in life. And I figured the only way to get happiness was to go after people that I thought would give me that. So at a very young age, I decided to pack up my bags, decided to get out of my parents' house, thinking that I was old enough to make my own decisions, and I was only 17 years old, and I was thinking I was pretty tough and top stuff, and that I could just go move out with some of my friends. We decided to get an apartment, and I started to realize real quickly how tough it was to have responsibility come sweeping in throughout the door. And I kind of bounced around from friend to friend to friend's house, and they weren't real true friends, which made it kind of hard too, because I didn't have a very firm foundation. I didn't have something solid underneath my feet, and it made it super tough to be able to know what I was supposed to do in life. I had some friends that chose the route of cosmetology right from high school. They were focused on getting a degree in something. They were already close to graduating in college. Even though they were still in high school, they had different things that they were focusing on. Then I had some friends that only cared about smoking and sex and finding, people that they thought would love them and care about them, and drugs and things like that. And I started to lose myself when I was in middle school. I started to lose who I was, what I should be in part. And a lot of that had to do from, the abuse that I had growing up. I had no idea what I needed to do to be what I wanted to be, or what was I supposed to be. So I got into lots and lots of trouble. I gave my parents a lot of heartache that I can see now that I wish I'd never done. And I ended up getting in trouble with the law a little bit. I ended up using drugs and alcohol a little bit. I ended up doing things that I'm not proud of. I ended up getting in some very, very scary situations where I'm surprised that I'm here to this day to be able to talk about it, because that's how dangerous they were. As I got older, I realized that those friends that I had hanging around me never stuck around. I could never be able to say, oh, I have friends from high school and we go out and get together all the time. No, I would never be able to say I had that. And that's kind of hard for me. But anyway, so I would go in different directions. And I still did not find peace, and I still did not find happiness. So I drank some more, and I did drugs some more, because I wanted to numb that pain and that struggle that I had. I would buy myself brand new clothes. I would dress myself up, super, super pretty, and I still felt awful and horrible about myself. I still did not get that position in life that I was hoping for. And I had those other friends that would call me every once in a while, and they'd be like, I'm looking forward to getting married and I'm going to have some kids. And they would ask me the same thing. And all I would be able to say is, I don't want kids. I don't want to get married, because all I could see is, why would I want to get married to somebody who treats me like crap? And then time got older, time went on, and it took me having a really huge incident happen in my life that pretty much smacked me in the face at a young age. And I ended up running into my husband at Village Inn. And I was a teenager. I had just dropped out of school. I was having to go to night classes in order to be able to graduate the same time that the rest of my class was. And so it was kind of scary. My friends were out playing and I was busy trying to get my education, trying to turn my life around a little bit. And my husband ends up walking in the door. He's from Idaho, and he ends up being super hyper and silly and crazy. And I knew that he was going to ask for my number, and all the people, all the waitresses in the back were laughing. They knew that that was going to happen, and so I stayed in the back. And when I thought he had left, I ended up coming to the front, cashing people out and everything. And he had been hiding in the bathroom because he didn't know where I was. And so he hid back there to see that when I came out, he'd come running forward to come pay for his food. Well, he'd come down here from Idaho to get to know his biological dad and to just get to know him a little bit and then head back to Idaho. So he was getting ready to go back, and his dad ended up asking me if Jake could have my number, my husband could have my number. And I said, oh, I had just gotten out of a really harsh relationship, completely just dragged me through the mud, one of the most horrible things I've gone through. And I just did not want to go that direction again. Plus, I mean, I'm only like 17, 18 years old. Why am I going to want to go in that direction again? And so he ends up saying, get my number and everything. And I remember when I was in night school, he ends up calling me. I ended up handing the phone to my friend saying, here, you answer it. She answers it. He says, okay, I'll talk to you later. So I called him that night. And at that moment, I just had this strong feeling that things were going to change in my life, that I didn't know what it was. I wasn't, getting puppy love or anything, but it was kind of a different feeling I wasn't used to feeling. It was excitement and just kind of a warm, fuzzy, comforting feeling and everything. And he was very friendly, and I was like, oh, he's just probably some drunk guy. I'm done going in that direction. I want to be able to have somebody that I'm not going to be going partying with or anything like that. I want to be able to change my life around and really start to settle down and be serious. It's time for me to be happy, whatever that happiness is. And he asked me, okay, well, let's go out on a date. And I was super, super, super scared to go out on a date. And I remember telling my mom and teasing and joking with her, saying, okay, the only way I'll go out on a date with him is if he pulls up in a blue truck. Just being silly, because what are the chances he's going to pull up in a blue truck? Anyways, so we hear this big loud boom sound, and I see a blue truck going up around the circle and pulling in front of my parents' house. And then my mom starts laughing. She says, well, I think that's him, and I think you just lost a bet. So then she says, well, the true test to be is if he comes up and comes to the door and gets you, or if he's going to honk the horn or call or something. Because every single guy I dated had just done that and was like, come on, get out here. So he ends up calling. I'm like, oh, great. Now they're not going to like him. He says, I think I'm in front of your house. It's got da-da-da in front. I said, yeah. He said, I'll be right up. So the rest is history. We've been married 14 years, been super, super happy. But to say the least, that's the beginning of where my happiness started. Now, it's not just because I have a man in my life and, we have 3 beautiful kids, but that makes a huge difference. And I'd like to kind of say that he kind of saved me from that direction of life. He was a totally different person, totally different values and standards. And I never imagined that I could be something that somebody else would want. that I could have the beauty and the excitement and the love that somebody else would want to have part of their life. Like, I'm just not worth that. And I felt completely worthless. And he became my friend. And as we've been married for a while and stuff, it hasn't been an easy road. We've had many ups and downs and stuff. And I've had to realize through the many trials and heartaches that I've had in my life that it's not that a man that brings the peace or my worth or loving myself. It comes inside from me, myself. And I've had to do things. I've had to make big, huge changes and leaps and bounds of being able to get where I'm at today. I have gone through many phases in my life where I have made different choices that have kind of got me into yucky situations, scary situations, fearful situations, happy and joyful situations. And I've learned that we all have control over what happens to us or how we respond and react in life. We can't choose the trials that we're given or happens. At times, some of us can bring them on ourselves, which I've done that too. But I recognize the direction that I've taken myself, and I'm super proud. I'm super excited from who I've become and where I'm at now. And I wouldn't do anything to lose how hard I've worked to get where I'm at, to have my 3 beautiful children and my wonderful, amazing husband that I have. Now, I have so many people. I look back and like my best friend Ashley, who I would have never thought I would have thought she still would have been here on this earth. She ended up making some decisions where it took her too soon. She ended up passing away at 21 from a heroin overdose. And she was my best friend growing up. I've known her my whole entire life. And then you have my sister, my very best friend, who made decisions in her life that kind of roughed up her thinking and the way she raised her children and the type of men she chose. And she went through heck and back. And I would say it was at the very end of her life that she finally decided to open up her eyes and realize that she had missed out on years and years of raising her children. She missed years and years of learning that she could have loved herself and what her worth was and where the peace was at and the joy and happiness that she could have had. And, she ended up passing away 3 years ago. So I look back at all these people and I'm like, this could have been me. This could have been my route. This could have been the decisions that I could have kept making. And then I look at where I'm at now, and it makes me so much more grateful that it's like, okay, I'm going to share what I've learned and the things that I've gone through, and I'm going to share them for the good. It's always been a dream of mine to be an inspirational speaker, one that could be a mentor, that could help people through their many challenges and struggles in life. And I have seen more things than most people should by the time, I'm 32 now. And I'm not saying that, I've gone through the worst of anybody else, but I'd have to say that being able to be on both sides has made it to where I can be more empathetic towards people out there when they're going through something and to be able to help them. Now, my peace comes from change, being willing to be humble and open to making a difference and a change in my life. And that can be really uncomfortable for many people, including myself. And as I've talked about this over and over again in my lives, I've decided to go the route of therapy and counseling and things like that. And there has been things I didn't want to learn about myself, and things that I've been told that I need to change to become better, to be able to have more peace and comfort in the home and within myself. And I would have to say this week has been a really, really huge struggle for me. I had to make some decisions that I knew wouldn't necessarily make my family happy. And unfortunately, it's because a decision that somebody else that I love very, very much has decided to kind of cut the ties between myself and this person, and has completely broken my heart, and has told me that this is something that they've got to forgive me for, when yet I was the victim. And in church today, not to go religious on you or anything, but they talked about forgiveness. And I've always felt like I was a pretty forgiving person. And that's something that robs us of peace if we can't learn to forgive people. Well, unfortunately, I'm on the opposite side. I'm not the one that's having to forgive. It's another person, this person I'm talking about, that feels like they have to forgive me for something that has affected me because of this person and people they've chose to have in their life. And I ended up in result, see, I'm having to be very, very careful what I say, because I want to protect that person even though they've hurt me dearly. I'm having to miss out on a lot of years of being able to be close to family and parties and things like that, just because of the decisions that this person has made. And it's completely broken my heart. But I've learned that it's not up to me when this person decides to let go and realize that I'm not somebody they need to forgive. I haven't done something that needs to be forgiven for. But when we let go of these things that we're holding on to, whether it's fears or anguish or anger or irritation with something, it completely frees us of that binding and weights of being miserable. And I've held on to these for so long, trying to please other people, making other people happy, trying to be what other people wanted me to be, having to keep my mouth shut for a very, very long time. Otherwise I would hurt people. I couldn't talk about the abuse that I ever went through. I couldn't express things without fear of losing a friend or not being able to please somebody. And I tell you, that weight has been weighing on me for so long. It has made life so miserable holding on to that strong weight, until I finally got strong enough to the point where I saw that something needed to be done, that I wanted things cleared out of my mind and my heart and my body, to be able to be me, to be able to have a voice, to be a spokesperson, to help other people, to stop living in fear and being afraid that if I speak up, people are going to judge me, or they're going to think I'm weird, or this, that, or the other. I finally have gotten to the point where I don't mind coming on live, whether it's with my hair done or makeup on, or having to wear the nicest clothes and getting in debt just so that I can look nice for when my in-laws would come into town, or going out with the friends, or making sure my house is super, super clean and fancy because people would judge me if I had stuff on the floor. Or, life is just so short and robs us of so many things when we spend our time worrying about what other people think or want from us, instead of enjoying and realizing, looking in the mirror, that that person you're looking back at was sent here to earth with worth. It wasn't something that you earned or, thanks Genesis, it wasn't something that you earned or are given. It's what you're given before you come down to here to earth, and nobody can take that away from you. And if you can realize that and believe that just at least a little bit, or tell yourself that until you can believe that, then you will be able to have that peace that we were meant to have here on this earth, to be able to be inspirational and loving and caring, to uplift people and help people up when they're struggling and having a hard time. Not to sit here on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is and down every single thing that we don't like about people. I used to hate Facebook. I used to think it was such a tainted, negative thing, where all I could see was people saying negative and horrible things about each other. And I've learned to ignore that part of it, to weed out the people that are like that, and to bring in new people that I hopefully can inspire, make happy, feel good, talk to, help, whatever it is from the things that I've gone through. So as I've been kind of saying in my other things, so I had to go through this really hard thing this week. And so today was the time that my family was getting together, and I wasn't able to be part of that. It was my choice, yes, but it was because there was certain people that were going to be at my family's house that I couldn't be around. I knew that that would set me back in healing and being a happy and healthy person. And fortunately, my family was very understanding of me not being able to come to this special event, but it totally broke my heart, made me feel guilt and shame. And I would message my counselor saying, I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do or how I'm supposed to do this. What am I supposed to say to them? This is so hard for me. And so she gave me things to say and helped me know what to do to, kind of help myself through this until I see her again. But she's preparing me for a really huge, big thing. And that big, huge thing is called EMDR therapy. Now, I'm a little nervous, and we'll see if I get much sleep tonight. But in the morning, I'm going to have to look around and start calling on getting into that therapy. It's for trauma people with PTSD, and people that have anxiety and depression. And it's a physical thing that's supposed to help rewire and retrain your brain on the way it thinks about things. And it doesn't necessarily erase all of the awful things you've ever gone through, but it helps you learn how to manage and cope and deal with things, so that when things happen that normally would trigger you and give you a panic attack, you're able just to shrug it off and be okay. And I'm so excited that that's going to be that added tool that I've waited for all these years, to be able to add to that peace and joy that I'm experiencing now and feeling. I'm so grateful for where I'm at in life, and I've had to learn how to set boundaries with family and friends, with my spouse, with my children, because without those boundaries, people learn to just walk all over you and treat you in any way that they have. We've ended up having also to get to the point this year where my husband has had some situations with family where it's been super, super toxic, and he's had to eliminate that too. And so we now have a smaller circle of family and friends, but we've learned who's important to keep in our lives and who's important to keep out and keep at a distance. And so these holidays, these months are going to be so much more different, not having to sit there and worry about certain people being in our lives and having to please certain people, because we can focus on where we're at now with the family and our kids that we have now. And I'm so grateful for it. Not only has it improved my relationship with my kids by these decisions and things I've had to make, but it's also improved my relationship with my husband and made it to where we appreciate each other more, and our eyes are more open to what we'll allow in our home and what we won't. And so all these things that I've talked about to you tonight have been here, there, and everywhere, I know. But they're different. They're steps in the right direction. And so if you're having something that's weighing you down, or something that you're struggling with, or if you're feeling completely worthless, you can't stand to look at yourself in the mirror, ask yourself why. What is it that's keeping you from being who you've always wanted to be? Because the answer isn't, oh, I'm just not worth it, or there's just no way I can be successful, or it's because I'm with this yucky person, or I have these yucky people in my life. You have the complete control over what you choose to bring into your life and what you choose to throw out of your life. And my counselor got me to a point where when I had a hard time thinking about that and making decisions like that, she asked me to, I think she called it snapshot or something like that, but it's where you completely put your focus, pretend that you're in front of this disgusting, awful trash can in front of yourself, okay? Think of it as having bugs everywhere and just goo and just the most disgustingest thing falling out of this trash can. If you have to close your eyes to do this, you close your eyes to do this. And I thought at first, I'm like, this sounds really stupid and hoaxy. Like, what is it that she's trying to do to me to get me to, like, is she trying to get me to feel peace or safe or what? But I was feeling a little awkward there. And she says, no, just do it. Just sit here. And when you can get yourself into this position, I want you to tap your leg. She says, we'll call it anchoring yourself, where you can completely close your eyes and focus exactly on what it is that I'm telling you to do. So we sat there, and when I was able to focus on that disgusting, awful trash can with stuff falling out of it, she says, I want you to anchor it. So I sat there and I tapped my leg. And guys, this is something, if you think I'm crazy, whatever. If this is something you want to do, or you can do it with me right now, do it, because it actually really, really does work. We can really train our brains. If we do it repetitiously over and over and over again, our brains will be trained to get rid of that head trash that we tell ourselves, or those memories, or that yuck inside our minds. So this is kind of a little small, quick way of doing it. So then after I anchored it and tapped my leg, she says, I want you to pretend in your mind that you're taking out a phone and you're taking a picture of that trash can. It's in color, you can see the size, you can see every detail in this picture, and pretend in your mind you're taking a picture of it. She says, after you can focus on this and completely picture it and smell it and feel it and everything, I want you to anchor it. So I sat there, and it took me quite a while to be able to focus on it, because my mind was all over. I could still think and realize I was still sitting on her couch in her office. And so after quite a while, I was able to anchor it. She says, just take your time. So then she says, I want you to be able to picture yourself in your kitchen, your current kitchen, the way it looks, the way it feels right now, as if you're at home right now, standing in your kitchen, leaning up against your counter. I want you to take out your phone. And again, you're pretending in all this, picturing this. Take out your phone, look at your phone, and bring up that picture you took of that disgusting, old, yucky, gross garbage. Think about the way it looks. Think about the colors it has. And then when you can do that, I want you to tap your leg and anchor it. So then I did. And she says, now you'll go ahead. You'll sit down at the kitchen table. You'll keep your phone out, and I want you to change that colorful picture into black and white. And then I want you to minimize it, completely close, and put your, make the trash can to where it's like the size of a quarter. Super, super small. And she says, when it's that small, I want you to, when you can picture it, I want you to anchor it. So again, I tapped my leg. She says, then I want you to get up that quarter size that you have. I want you to open up your front door. And what do you see when you open up that front door? And I was like, well, I see houses, I see, and I explained every single thing that I could see. And she says, I want you to throw that quarter size picture as far as you can. And so I did. And then she says, okay, I want you to open up your eyes. And now this type of training that she did with me is where you think of the most awful, horrible, that trash can represents something that's awful or horrible, traumatic, or something that gives you anxiety or fear, or anything that you feel is holding you down, whether it's bad self-esteem or anger towards somebody, not being able to forgive somebody, whatever it is, and put it in that trash can and do that exercise with yourself every single day. And I tell you, that technique, one of those techniques that she's given me, has helped me on a daily basis. And I went from thinking it was actually, completely stupid and ridiculous, to realizing that that would help put me at peace. Now, one last thing before I let you guys go, because I don't want to take up your whole precious night. I know your time is very special. But one last thing she told me to do was put together a comfort kit. Now, that comfort kit had to have, I think it was my 5 senses. Feel, taste, something you hear, see, and something spiritual. Those were my 5 senses, okay? And so I had to come up with 5 things that I could fit inside a small Ziploc bag that I could put one in my car and one in my purse. And so that anytime if I was out and about, something triggered me, brought up a horrible memory, something that gave me like major anxiety or whatever when I was out and about, I could get out that comfort kit. And it's kind of like a first aid kit, but for your mentality, your psychological part of you. And so in my comfort kit, I put in lotion, because lotion tapped into my smell, my feel, and touch. And I put in my most favorite smell, because when you're going through traumatic things and stuff, you're going to remember yucky smells. And anytime you smell something like that, it's going to bring you into panic. And so I had to make sure it was something I didn't tie into or relate to with anything else. It was my favorite smell. Then I put a really, really, really soft piece of fabric in there, kind of to represent a blanket that I sleep with at night that is just comforting. It's soft and cuddly. I put in a piece of gum in there, my favorite kind of gum. You could put chocolate, but it might melt in your purse. What else did I put in there? A couple other things. But then anytime anything ever triggered me or whatever, or I was having a hard time, I would turn on my favorite music, because that was what I did for hearing, and I would just jam out to it. And seriously, the music would bring me out of that sad, depressed, angry, upset, fearful feeling. And I would make myself a playlist. She told me, make yourself a playlist on your phone or your CD player, wherever it is that you're at, and put those songs on. And they have to be your most favorite songs, something that might make you want to dance, or something that just completely relaxes you. For me, it's something that makes me want to dance, because then I laugh and I smile, and it brings me out of that mood right away. Another thing is if I was, schools kind of trigger me, going into my kids' school. And I'm finding out now why, is because when I was a kid, I was bullied a lot. And so even now that I'm an adult and I can control things, going into my kids' school would trigger me. So I'd slip in a piece of gum and I would start chewing it. And you think about the taste, and you think about it in detail. You feel how it feels in your mouth, how your mouth becomes watery and it's chewy, and the smell is spearmint. And when you start to think detailed things like that about your different senses, your brain can't focus on 2 things like that, tentatively like that, at once. It will direct it at a different direction. So if you're having a hard time, no matter how minimal it is, do these things. One last thing. So with my job and everything, it can be super, super hard at times, okay? And it can be frustrating. People can be mean to you and stuff, make you wonder if you really want to help people because of how they can be. And so what we've learned how to do is affirmations. Not affirmations, but affirmations. It's when you put statements into questions, because your brain is automatically going to find the answers for something. So just probably a couple weeks ago, I thought this was silly too. I don't know, I'm stubborn. But I put it on my mirror so that every day when I look in the mirror, I can look at this and go, why do I inspire others? Not how do I inspire others, or do I inspire others? How do I inspire others? It's asking myself a question that I'm going to have to answer in a positive way. And that one is a super, super hard one for me. So you pick like 5 real hard things. If you hate the way that you look and you feel like you're an ugly person, you'd be like, why am I beautiful? Why am I a good looking person? Why am I a good parent? What did I do today to help others? And if you read that to yourself on multiple times a day, you will get to the point where you believe those things, because your brain is having to find the answers for these questions. So instead of statements, you turn them into questions. Your brain is going to automatically find the answers for it. So these type of techniques have been absolutely amazing. If I hadn't found this counselor and decided to bite away my pride and be willing to listen to somebody else for once and try, instead of trying to do it on my own, I would have never found these ways of being able to find peace and joy and comfort in my life. I'm so grateful for it, and I hope that you guys can either break down and find a counselor that you can go to, because I highly, highly recommend it. Stop trying things on your own and by yourself. It's okay to be weak at times, but just remember that you're not always going to be weak, you're not always going to be miserable, and you're not always going to have these trials. They will come and go. You will find new ones to struggle with and have a hard time with, but that's not something that's ever going to overpower you unless you allow it to do so. I hope you guys have a wonderful week this next week, and that you'll continue listening to me on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. because I come on here every week with different things, and hopefully wish me good luck, because I'm going to make that huge step to make that appointment for that that next step of trauma therapy called EMDR. Look it up. It's pretty interesting at what they do and how they can rewire the brain. But have a good night, and I wish you guys all the best. Love y'all.